everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie and this is all about my life after gastric bypass, and today's video is my 9-month update. Just as a quick disclaimer, because I'm sure people are going to wonder what the masking tape is up behind me, we're going to be hanging up some pictures, and so I'm kind of framing that out, so disregard that. Hopefully that will be a thing of the past after a few hours from now. I cannot believe that it's already been 9 months. I mean, when I think about how close December is to getting here, and that'll be a 1-year mark since my surgery, it's just amazing to me at how fast everything has flown by. So I can't really believe that I'm sitting here doing a 9-month update. This one is also a really big one. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that happened, and because it is my 9-month, I did recently see my doctor as well, so I have a little bit of updates when it comes to my blood work and everything. So I'm just going to jump right into things and start off with the stats. On August 1st, I weighed 243.2 pounds, and on the 31st, I weighed in at 230.6 pounds. So that is a 12.6 pound loss for the month of August, which really kind of fits right back along with the 11-12 pounds that I have been losing on average per month for the last several months. Not including last month, but we're just gonna skip right by that. The bigger stats, though, is that means that I've lost 113.4 pounds since surgery on December 1st, 2020, and 143.4 pounds since I started pre-op on October 6th of last year. I'm only 6.6 pounds away from being able to say I've lost 150 pounds since I started this process, which is crazy, and in all honesty, I might be able to hit that before I hit the 1 year on October 6th. So that would be 150 pounds in a year from the start of when I decided to do bariatric surgery. That blows me away. That being said, if we want to look at the big picture, which I always like to do, my highest weight was 383.3 pounds. And that was actually just about a year ago. I believe it was mid-August. I don't have the exact date anymore because it was tied to my Weight Watchers app and I discontinued using that. So I don't have access to those numbers anymore. But I believe it was around August 18th or so of 2020 was when I hit my highest weight. So since my highest weight, and since I decided I needed to do something before I settled on bariatric surgery, I've lost 152.7 pounds. So that's about a year. 152.7 in 1 year. It just blows me away. It blows me away how much weight I've lost in a year. I honestly, truly thought that it would be amazing if I lost 100 pounds in a year. So to have lost over 150 pounds is just, it's crazy to me. It is absolutely life-changingly crazy. So getting into some of the things that I've noticed this month, some things that stood out to me more so this month than other months, and some of the things that I continue to struggle with. One thing is that I still struggle to eat solid food in the morning. I try, occasionally you want to eat something for breakfast, right? I just occasionally will really feel like eating breakfast, and I'll try, and some days are better than others, but overall, I wish that I hadn't. I've noticed. Even this morning, I had a piece of zucchini bread that I had made, and it just didn't sit well with me. It didn't sit right. I didn't feel sick as much as I don't feel like is ready to go and fueled for the day as if I avoid solid foods. I have noticed that if I start out with a protein shake, or more often than not a protein coffee in the morning, and then have like a mid-morning snack that is more solid food, that goes over pretty well. It's just like my first meal of the day can't really be food. It just can't. And I don't know what exactly that is. My only theory at this point is that when I go very long periods of time without eating, which I try not to do, but if something happens and it's been 6-7 hours since I've had a meal, I've noticed that I feel kind of sick when I eat. And so I think that first thing in the morning, if I eat food, my stomach just doesn't like going from empty to having something it has to work hard to digest. It's not a big deal. Like I said, sometimes I wish I could just eat some food, but it's not terrible. And it's not like I can't. I mean, I just have to eat very slow. I just don't expect it to make me feel like fueled and ready to go if I choose to eat something in the morning. Something that my boyfriend was helping me piece together somewhat recently, but we really seem to notice this last month, is that when I get full, like the smell of food really bothers me. So for example, if I eat, a little bit more at dinner time than I wanted, or maybe a little bit fast, and so I didn't realize, and that really full feeling sneaks up on me, I will notice that any food that's left over around me really starts to bother me. Like the smell of it really starts to bother me, and I have to take leftovers to another room, and I have to get rid of those things from around me, because that smell just, it's almost like this disgusting, like, oh, I need that away from me right now. And I don't know what that's about. We did notice that before. It has happened, a few times, but I feel like it's happening more often now. And that might just be related to the fact that I'm getting more and more comfortable, and I'm able to eat more at a time now than I was right before surgery. So maybe I run into an issue where I am getting that full feeling a little more often than I used to, and then that smell triggers things. The other thing that I've noticed that other people have talked about, but I never experienced until recently, is getting hiccups or sneezes when I'm full. That is something that people, I've read all over the place, that's their full signal. They know if they start getting hiccups or if they start sneezing, they need to stop eating because they're getting full. I never experienced that. I thought it was very interesting that people would experience that. But this month, I've started that. This month, all of a sudden, I'm sneezing partway through dinner, and I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and stop now. Or I'll get hiccups randomly, or sometimes a runny nose. That's a little less often. These are all very common things that people experience after surgery, but I never did until 9 months later. I think that's really weird. But hey, I mean, it's just another example of listening to your body, knowing what your signals are, what your cues are, and I'm just honoring that. So if I sneeze while I'm eating now, I stop. If that means that I get hungry later and I eat, the rest of my dinner or something, that's fine. But I take that as a cue that I've had enough at that moment. And lastly, I wanted to give an update on hair loss. I know everyone is so worried about hair loss, and I really feel like in the last month or so, I've gotten past the majority of the hair loss issues. Now, I have had thinning hair, and I've had a lot of hair come out in the shower and things like that, but I didn't notice anything that I would consider like, really thinned out bald patches or like anything that was concerning from like an aesthetic point of view. But I did notice that I had, quite a bit of hair that would come out every time I showered. I feel like things are kind of going back to normal. I have always shed a lot of hair in the shower. Since I started showering instead of bathing, I have noticed that I just have a tendency to shed a lot of hair. So I've always had a certain amount of that. And I think at this point, I'm back to normal. I would say it looks normal to me. The amount that I am shedding, during washing my hair and things like that, look like before surgery. I do still shed hair, but I always have. It's just not gobfuls, or like, I really felt like it got to the point where it was like about twice as much as I normally had. So again, it wasn't like tons and tons and tons of hair. I've just been continuing to try to keep up on my protein. Biotin does not help with hair loss, but it does help with the new growth coming in. I've always been making sure to have folic acid involved with my stuff, just trying to keep things as healthy as possible. And I don't feel like the hair loss that I have experienced has been detrimental or traumatic in any way. So there's that, I guess. It does differ each person. Everybody kind of experiences it differently. The amount of hair that you lose is really kind of just tied to, your individual body's reaction to this stuff. So like I said, this is my 9-month update. And so I did see my doctor. I see my doctor every 3 months for a full blood panel workup to check my vitamin levels and to make sure everything's going well. And so far post-op, everything has been going well. There hasn't been anything overly concerning. At one point, she had me lower my doses of B12 because it was just high. Even though it's not problematic to have high B12, it's kind of a waste, you know? So she had me take my sublingual B12 every other day. So I basically take it Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this point. And she has been watching my copper levels. And that's what came up again in this blood panel. Everything is looking great. My vitamin levels are all steadily increasing, so everything's going really well. The only real issue is that my copper levels are also increasing. I'm not really eating copper-rich foods, so the only thing that we can think of is the fact that my bariatric multivitamin and pretty much all bariatric multivitamins that I have found have 200% of my daily copper in it. For whatever reason, this seems to be something my body is absorbing extremely well. And I have looked for bariatric multivitamins that don't have either as much copper or don't have any copper, but bariatric vitamins have everything on hyperdrive, and so everything I've found is like 200% copper. We did decide that I was going to discontinue the bariatric multivitamins specifically. So she wants to keep me on everything else that I'm taking at the same levels, but the bariatric multivitamin just has too much copper. So the agreement was to find a normal multivitamin and take 2 of those a day to give me those levels that I was getting from the bariatric vitamin, but try to find something that didn't have copper. So I did some research with stuff and I was looking at things and I settled on a prenatal vitamin from Costco. Looking at like a women's 1 a day versus the prenatal, everything was very similar and the differences looked to be in areas that I was okay with. And it just seemed like when I was looking at all the stats and comparing all of the amounts, the best thing for me to do was to take a couple of these prenatal vitamins. There's really nothing wrong with taking a prenatal vitamin if you're not getting pregnant, and the levels just looked appropriate for what I was looking for. So that's what I'm switching to. Today was my first day taking that. So I took one this morning and I plan to take another one in the evening to try to space that out a little bit. And in 3 months, when I check with her again, she's going to see if that made any real difference and if it's something that I might be able to continue. Her main goal is to see, I mean, obviously we don't want my other levels to drop, but the main goal is to see if we can get my copper to decrease, because if my copper levels don't decrease, then she is going to send me to a bariatric specialist just to make sure that these are things that I don't have to worry about and just get a different perspective on it, because she is not a bariatric specialist. She's just my primary care provider. I've been very grateful and very lucky that she has been working with me so much and is comfortable enough running the panels that she's seen other patients run and everything. But she does have a point where she's going to say, you know, I can't really help with this. So hopefully this will bring my copper levels down. It's nothing overly concerning and my levels aren't so high that she's like, oh my God, something's really wrong here. But it's something that she has just been noticing steadily increasing. So let's see if we can do something about it. And lastly, I want to round out my video with some non-scale victories that happened this month. And I really feel like there's a lot of them. I really feel like things are really changing and getting more and more positive as time goes on. And it's just it's so encouraging and so great to see. First and foremost, I hiked up a mountain this month. Like, up a mountain, up the face of a mountain. It was so beautiful. It was so difficult. It was a lot of work, but I would not have done that a year ago. I wouldn't have. I was not interested in hiking at all a year ago. And that's something also that I've done, not just this month, but all summer. I have been doing the hikes every 2 weeks. And my last video, I'll go ahead and link it up here, is all about the scavenger hunt and the different hikes that I've been doing. So, I mean, that's something that is amazing. I had pretty much zero interest in doing that before. And now I'm loving it. I love going out and walking and exploring and hiking, and occasionally doing a challenging hike. I do not want to hike up a mountain every day, but it was really great to be able to do, to be able to see the sights and say, look, this is what I did. Like, I climbed up here in order to get this picture. It was amazing. I've also continued my 10,000 step streak. I did have one day in there I decided, I think I only got about 8,000, and I just decided I was going to call it a rest day. Otherwise, every single day for like, I think it's been over 2 months now, I've gotten 10,000 steps a day. That's something I never did before. I am so much more active, and not only just, being active and having more energy, but I am going specifically on walks in the morning or in the evening. My boyfriend and I have this route that we take in the evening for an evening walk now, that we'll take the puppy on before bed. And it's just a really nice habit and a really nice routine that I'm coming up with. And I just feel so good when I go for a walk now. It feels so much different than before. Before it felt like a chore. It was difficult to do. Now it just feels like a really nice way to end my night. Along those same lines of feeling more active and stuff, something that is really significant that happened to me is actually last weekend. Last weekend was one of the most stressful, worst weekends that I've had in a long time. And I kind of played it off a little bit because I was able to go and do the scavenger hunt, and that did lift my spirits a little bit. But ultimately, last weekend was really, really terrible. And I found myself responding to that way different than I used to. I needed to clear my head, and I needed to do something. And so I went out in the morning with the dog, and I took a 4-mile walk, and I just walked. I put in a podcast, and the two of us just took off, and we walked for 4 miles. I cleared my head. I felt so much better, and it just allowed me to calm down a little bit. And that is not the way I would have reacted to stress in the past. Absolutely not. And that made me feel really good. At the end of all of that, I felt like I am finally starting to get some coping mechanisms that are helpful and that are going to get me through tough times, that are not relying on food or eating or, the endorphin rush revolving around those things that I used to do. The fact that I recognized that I needed to go and do something and just went for a walk, I'm really proud of myself for that. I'm really, really proud of that reaction. And those are the kinds of changes that I'm really welcoming in my life. I was also able to retire some clothing this month. I finally bagged up a bunch of my clothes that just don't fit anymore. I was trying so hard to hold on to things for a really long time and trying to make them work, and they just don't anymore. They are just too big to feasibly wear. I still am wearing, big t-shirts and things like that, but anything like work related, I just can't get away with that anymore. So I bagged it all up. I do plan on keeping a few items in the future and then donating the rest of the stuff that is in good condition. But for now, I've just bagged it all up. I also threw out a whole bunch of underwear that just aren't going to work anymore. So it felt really good to be able to purge a little bit and get rid of those things that are just too big now. On kind of a similar note, I've had these shirts that we bought, these t-shirts, in a smaller size that have just never been anywhere close to fitting me. But they fit now. I can wear a bunch of shirts that I've been holding on to that I really wished I could wear. I can fit into them now. And it feels really good to have access to another part of my wardrobe that was always off limits for me. My big announcement though, I was going to call it a non-scale victory. It is kind of related to the scale, but I'm going to call it a non-scale victory anyway. But the big thing that happened this month is that my BMI finally went down, you guys. I am now below a 40 BMI, which means that I'm in the next category. It's still like severely obese or something stupid like that, but it is no longer 40 plus. Now, I started this whole process at a 65 BMI a year ago. I was a 65 and I'm now 39. That is huge. It's a huge difference. But now there's this, this scale that everyone recognizes and everybody goes by, at least medically, that I am working my way down. And that feels awesome. So that's it for my 9-month update. Those are, I think, all of the changes that I've noticed, everything going on in my life right now. I'm feeling great. TLDR, I'm feeling great. Things are going really well. I'm not having any real big complications. I'm noticing great changes every day. And it just feels really good to see what things are evolving into. These things are changing slowly, and I'm becoming this person that I'm just like, I didn't even recognize this person before. I didn't even know that these things were possible for me. I didn't know that I had an interest in these things. It's just amazing to see the difference in only 9 months. I mean, I still have 3 months to go before I hit that 1-year mark. If I can make this much progress in 9 months, I don't even know what I'm going to be looking at in 3 months. I could be a totally different person. So thank you so much for watching. I do these updates every month. So if you are interested, if you find yourself coming back and you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing, helping out the numbers a little bit, and ringing the notification bell just so you get an update every time I do upload a video. And if you are a continuing subscriber and you're coming back, thanks so much for continuing to support my channel. I am just amazed at the steady growth that I've had, and it's just been so great to be able to connect to people and offer, my experience with things and hear what other people are experiencing. So, thank you so much. And I would love to interact with you in the comments. I think that's probably one of my favorite things about uploading videos. So have a great week, you guys. I hope you had a fantastic Labor Day weekend, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hey, look at the puppy. Oh my gosh.